Hi folks. So today what we're going to do is we are going to use Illustrator to modify CAD files. I think some of you have been taking some CAD drawing classes, but even if you haven't, I am supplying this particular elevation so that you have a file to work with. So here you see previous students' work. They've got this elevation, which is from a museum exhibit, and they've put in the wallpaper that they created, and then they enhanced it with some other objects. And this student really nice job of taking the aesthetic of this geometric wallpaper and mixing it with some retro furniture in here. So it's got a fun take on it, and I encourage you to pick out things for your walls that reflect what your wallpaper is like. Notice how this furniture sits squarely right on the elevation. So you want to pick furniture with that really straight on view. And also you can put pictures on the walls too. So here's one student's work, and then here's another one. And notice you can see on here I've marked that these couches look a little small. This child looks like a giant compared to that couch. And this is a console that's probably about, an adult's head would probably be about here. There's no adult in here now, but you'll see the elevation does have a person in it before this student had taken it out. So this is about waist high. So that couch should also be closer to waist high. It should probably be about maybe this high here. So that's a little dwarfed there. So consider the scale of the pattern in your wallpaper and the elements that you put in here. This wallpaper, this student did a drawing of dog, which was kind of fun. So here was their dog, and they've got the pattern mirroring. And so in the scale of that, they've got that dog probably life size, which is quite large. And this pattern here were the spots on a Dalmatian, so that's more random. So you want to consider how big you're making that scale. So you can think of a flower, for example, being, tiny little thing, or this big or huge, which would be really wacky in a way. And I want you to be considerate about how you do that. So going to, I have open here Illustrator, and I have a blank page, and I want to show you first what not to do. So what you don't do is you don't have your Illustrator page here, and you don't go and place the image. So here's my image. You don't place it, because then what will happen is that it's got this box across it. It means that it is a placed image, much like a JPEG, and I cannot get in here to do anything. All I can do, I've got the white arrow, the direct selection tool, and I want to go in here and manipulate these points, and I can't. It's just like a flattened JPEG image, and that happened because I went and I placed the image in here. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to show you what you should do. So I have Illustrator open. So you need to open Illustrator, and then from Illustrator you go to Open, and you find your image and you open the image. And so what is happening now is it is actually opening a new Illustrator image, and you can not pay attention to the fonts. So I don't know if you noticed before, but this was the file that I had open. And when I said open, again, go up to here and say File, Open. It's probably not going to let me do it because I already have it open. If I go find my image, hit open, yeah, it says it's already open in another window. So no, I'm not going to do that. But what it did was it created a whole new document. And that's what I want, because now when I zoom in here, I can go with my direct selection tool, and I can go and click on different elements of this, okay? So the other thing that it does when you open the file is it opens it up to scale. Now, one of the things that's great about CAD files is you draw the picture and you tell it to be 1 inch equals 1 foot scale, or this is 3/8 equals 1 foot scale. So you can manage the the scale. With Illustrator, you cannot manage that scale. What it's going to do is open up this document at the exact size that that scale is. So if I want to change the scale, I can't just go up to a button and say change it. I have to actually do the math. So if I wanted to make this 100%, which sometimes you do want to do, you want to know the exact 100% and work at full scale, I would have to do the math and figure out how large I have to make my 3/8 of an inch to change it to a foot. Sorry, my cat has jumped up on my lap and is trying to play with the pen. So he's going on the ground now, so he's not going to disturb our class and make things pop up on my screen. So now that I have this in here, I'm going to teach you the frustration of working with a file in Illustrator. It's you might be thinking, well, why am I going to make you do this? There are instances where you're going to want to take Illustrator and have it work with your CAD files. You're going to want to do something in Illustrator. Perhaps you're going to put signage in your space. It depends on what you end up doing as an interior designer, what your focus is. But for me, when I'm working as being a graphic designer, working with somebody's elevations, I will want to take this image here, and I'm creating scenic graphics that go on this wall. And I will show you, you will have already seen by the time you see this actually, a presentation where I'm showing you this in an actual museum setting. And so I went in and I placed in here where it says graphic panel by CMOM, I went and put a sign in there. And then I also put scenic images. So the exhibit designer left these spaces in here for me so that I would be able to go and put these signs in here, so I can take this out and put the real sign in there. But so I'm working with this so I know how much space, because I know that this component's going to be here and I know that this is going to be here, and I want to create artwork on the walls that doesn't interfere with that. So the reason why I said it can be a little frustrating is it depends on how you've drawn something. And so when you do a CAD file, this is made up of a million little points. See the way that's got all these points in here, and they're all actually individual broken lines, and there's many of them. So you can see how that can be a little frustrating to work with. So we're not going to work with it actually. And this line I could, shouldn't be here either. So this, so sometimes things translate a little funky, as you can see by this text. The designer did not type all of these letters one at a time. They just broke up in the conversion. So that's something that sometimes happens. Another thing, when you are opening a file, an AutoCAD file in Illustrator, it needs to be saved either as a EPS or a PDF file. Okay, so this that I'm providing for you is a PDF file. So what you're going to do is delete the stuff that you don't need. And I am going to show you that this console here, see the way it's got a couple different pieces on it here? So I was able to go and select some objects and just go and fill them with the color. So if I wanted to select this sign right here, I could just take that and it fills with the color. If I were to select this and try to do that, it's not working because this was drawn as a line. So sometimes people draw things as lines versus drawing them as shapes. So if you know that you were going to be working in Illustrator, in the end, you could draw things as shapes rather than lines. Okay, so now this one over here, I can go and select a color, and this top part, I could do that. But if I wanted to, say, go and work with this table here and play with this, I might find out that it's individual shapes. So what I could do is, you already know how to connect points. So you can take that and this point, and I'm going to zoom way in here, and you could take a point and hold the shift key and grab another point, make sure they're both blue, and you know how to go to object, path, and join, and it will join those points. But to do that would be a lot of work. The other thing that you could do is, you can see this is a rectangular shape. So you can go and just draw a rectangle to go and fill something with the color, and then you can go arrange, send it back so you can see that little notch that was put in there. Okay, so when you work on this, you have some free reign here to play with what's going on. So you do not need to keep all of this stuff. You can go and drag over it. And now notice what I did is I dragged over and I'm getting these lines over here. What's going to happen is, you know, again, I said this was a complicated drawing. And so if I delete that, I may be deleting some stuff that I need. So there was some other information in here a moment ago. No, I guess it wasn't anything that I need. Okay, but what you want to do is check and make sure you're not losing stuff that you need. So if you see that some lines like that are showing up, you know, because if you take a big, huge section, then they show up, okay? But so you want to make sure you're paying attention to what you're removing and what you're not removing. Now you are going to take your wallpaper and you are going to put it on this wall here, and this wall here, and this wall here. Now this has a pattern here which you can keep in there, and maybe you want to play with the outline of that, so you can select that outline and make it a different color, and you might even want to change the thickness of your lines to change that pattern. You can use that and keep it, or you can delete it if you'd like. So now this wall back here, it's made out of, go back to the direction tool, it's made out of separate lines. So what I'm going to do is I am going to create a box that I am actually going to use as a clipping mask for my pattern. Okay, so I know that that is my pattern size right there. I'm going to go back to my bird pattern. I am going to go and copy it. I'm going to go and paste it into this document. And then I am going to hold down the Shift key to scale it to be the size that I want. So I'm thinking about the relative size. And if I find that I haven't made enough of the pattern, I may decide to zoom out and work on it over on the side here. Generally, I created more of it in this file on purpose because it was just easier to manage it there than to try to do it in here. So I really planned ahead and I have it pretty much the size I want. So I'm looking at this for just the scaled and to see how I want this to look when I put it in here. Now, if you think about wallpaper, if I were to just drop it in here, sorry, I accidentally dropped one of them, it's not grouped. I should probably just group it. If I go and leave this like that, that doesn't look like wallpaper because wallpaper should bleed off, as you know. So I'm going to make it bigger so it will bleed. So there, I've got it. Sorry, I keep moving this around. I've got it the size I want. So I'm going to move up here. I am going to put this box, my clipping mask, which we've already learned how to do, and I've got it sitting over top of this pattern. So let me just make sure it is on top. So I'm going to take that pattern and arrange it, make sure it's in the back, and then my clipping mask should be in the front. I'm going to grab both. Now look, I grabbed that line from the back, so I'm holding down the Shift key to unselect anything in the background I don't need. And then I'm going to go up to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And then there I've got my pattern. I'm going to put it in here. Notice how it's sitting over top of this wall. I'm going to go to Arrange, Send to Back, and Shift. And so then I could make these walls here a different color if I'd like to. And I can get rid of the outline on those. Okay, there you go.